if you guys will stay with me toward the end of this video, I'm going to show you guys a little surprise I've got for the old Ford truck. So just bear with me and enjoy the video. So guys, you've seen on the intro that we had several before and after pictures of projects that we've done. Now that is a drop in the bucket to what we have done over the years. I've been doing this for over 50 years, and I've done hundreds of vehicles. We build custom guns, custom cars, custom trucks, custom motorcycles, and we also just do some typical everyday body work on newer model stuff occasionally. Help support the habits I got of building this old stuff. But anyway, what I wanted to show you here was the 1960 model Ford pickup that I'm doing. Now this is my own personal truck, and so I'm really enjoying doing it. It's kind of a slow go because I don't have the time all the time to do what I want, and I do have to save money in between things, so that takes me a little longer too. Some of you guys might be familiar with that type of plan. But anyway, the backstory on this old truck, my friend John bought this truck as a parts truck, and I seen this truck and I wanted it, so I tried to buy it from him. He wouldn't sell it because he wanted the parts off of it, and I thought it was too good to salvage, but it was his truck, so that's what he was doing. Of course, he needed the parts, no doubt. But anyway, long story short, after 3 months of talking about it, finally one day, John says to me, "Are you still interested in that old Ford pickup?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "How much do you want for it?" Well, he made me a really good deal on it, so I bought it, and so here we are fixing it up. I love this truck, guys. I'll tell you, this has got a permanent home here at Paul's house. We get it fixed up, we're just going to enjoy it and go with it. But anyway, if you guys will allow me, I'm going to show you a little of what we got going on here. When I got the truck, the steering column was missing in it, steering wheel and everything, and I went ahead and bought a steering column, shifter column, rebuilt the steering wheel that I bought, and that's time consuming, by the way. Redid the dash in it, and we just stuck an old seat cover on it temporarily. We got a lot of work to do on the inside, change out glass, and part of the floor needs replaced, just various things like that. But it's a pretty solid old truck. I mean, it's got rust in it, but they all do. Okay, so let me talk to you a little bit about planning and build plans for these trucks. So many people over the years that I've worked on this stuff, they start a vehicle and they don't really have a solid idea of what they want to do to it. What they do is they start changing their mind, and they do it several times through the build. And of course, every time you change your mind, the expense of the build goes up. And next thing you know, they've spent so much money on it, they just get burnt out and quit it. And that's just from a lack of planning. But if you plan one out, and let me give you an illustration of what I'm talking about on this truck right here, is I've had a build plan. Before I even bought this truck, I had a build plan. So that was kind of a neat deal right there. But I wanted a 1960, 58 through 60, it didn't matter to me that much, Ford pickup, the refrigerator style. But I wanted it to look like Grandpa just went down and bought that thing at the Ford place and drove it off the lot. I wanted it to look original. And so the build plan is this, and always has been. We're going to stay with the original yellow and white paint on it, steel wheels, and everything on the inside is going to stay original. 3-speed on the tree, straight front end under. We're going to leave that under there. Now, a lot of people say, well, I'd put something else under there. Well, I'm only going to drive this thing 25 to 50 miles at a time, and that straight axle's plenty good enough for me if you rebuild it and do it right. And it just, the expense of putting a Crown Vic or something under there is more than I want to spend for the way I'm going to use the truck. So it's just, again, it's a matter of personal preference. But having said that, we stay with the original yellow and white on it. And when we get it done, you see it going down the road, you'll just think, well, Grandpa just bought a new Ford pickup in 1960, and it's all original. Now here's where I vary from the original, and I'm going to show this to you if I can get this hood up. As you can see, that's not the original engine in this truck. It's a 390. Original 292 had a 158 horsepower, I believe it was, and that's just not enough horsepower for me. I wanted something with a little more giddy up to it, so I put this 390 in there. Now this 390 runs good, holds good oil pressure, don't smoke, but unfortunately after we got it in there, it had a rattle in it. Now we didn't hear that when we started on the engine stand because we didn't have any exhaust on it, but now that I got mufflers on it and everything, I can hear a rattle in the engine. So I'm pretty sure that it's something on top of a piston, which is not a big deal, but it's, you know, it's going to have to be taken out and taken apart and fixed. But I'm not going to fix this engine. I'm going to leave it like it is. I just left it in here so that I could move the truck around in and out of the shop when I needed to, and it's doing that fine. As we mentioned in the front of this video, we have a little bit of a surprise about what's going to go in place of this engine. Now, we will use this engine on another project somewhere down the line, but that's for a later time. Okay, guys, I'm going to set this hood down. It's heavy. Okay, so we're going to walk over here and I'm going to show you the little surprise package we have. I just recently bought this engine. They were racing this engine down to the local drag strip, and they said it was a 390. Now the engine does run good and sounds good, but when it gets warm, it starts to smoke a little bit and it has some blow by, so I'm going to just go ahead and rebuild it. Now, I believe that block is a truck block as best I can tell looking at it just from some of the castings on it. But I did run down the head numbers, and to my surprise, those are 427 heads, which that is really nice. So, you know, if we want a little horsepower in the old truck, this engine ought to do that. Should be pumping out time you put the right cam in it with the 427 heads, 390 block, electronic ignition, aluminum intake, headers. You should be able to pull out somewhere between 350 and maybe just under 400 horsepower, which is enough. Now, you know, a lot of the guys are building engines that are going, you know, 700-800 horsepower and even bigger. But I don't need that in that old Ford pickup. This is just going to be something fun to drive, and it just takes a lot less money unless you start pumping those huge amounts of horsepower in them, and so I'm fine with 300 or 400 horsepower. It does have an automatic transmission on it. We're going to pull that off and stay with the old 3-speed on the tree because that's a part of the originality that I wanted. So having said that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be talking to you again soon.